Welcome to the Public Safety Committee. We have a couple of things on the agenda tonight. I'll have the Madam Clerk, could you read what the first one, please?
First motion on the agenda, Council Order 17-179, motion presented by Councilor Patch, that the mayor requests the Traffic Commission, in conjunction with the DPW, to install a pedestrian crossing signal at Salem Street and Overlook Ridge. Residents of Overlook have a difficult time safely crossing Salem Street from the bus stop.
Any councilors? The reason for me that I put in this motion is I've been getting several emails from people that live at Overlook. There's definitely a traffic safety problem, public safety problem at the crossing when the MBTA bus stops and the people walk in front of it and walk right out in the street. I've witnessed it myself many times. So I've been trying, this is probably the third time I've been trying to get something done down there. So I had a meeting with, last week at Overlook with Joe Carlton, the manager of Overlook, and Joseph Tricigaro, the vice president of the department, senior vice, from New Jersey, and we started talking about what sort of remedy we could have there to protect the pedestrians. And unfortunately, we can't do a single light because the final plans is to have the main street in another location, the entranceway on Salem Street. So we got to talking about some kind of safety pedestrian light crossing, and they agreed with me that they were going to do something about it. Now I'll bring up the community affairs. Frank Stranger up to have something to say about it, and then if there's any questions from the councilors, we'll take them. Frank?
Thank you, Councilor. We certainly agree with you. There's certainly a need for that pedestrian traffic signal at that location. It's very hazardous in its existing condition with the bus stop there, and I see no problem with the Traffic Commission supporting this pedestrian traffic signal at that location. So whatever you need for support, the Traffic Commission will be there to try to get this thing moving along. All
right. Well, Frank, what would be my next step? Would it have you send a letter to them to start the communication to get it started? Because they did give me a good feeling that they were going to help us here. So if we could get this started as soon as possible, I know the Traffic Commission has to approve it, correct?
Yes, and since it's not a full traffic signal, I don't believe a warrant has to be approved, crossing warrant, but it still has to go before the Traffic Commission. We require any kind of change in management of traffic flow in the city or pedestrian safety measures go before the Traffic Commission, the same as we've been doing with the bike lanes. So at the next regular meeting, we should have this brought up, and then the next scenario would be whether it be designed in-house and put out to bid, or the city hire a traffic engineer to put a design together. But it's not difficult. It's simply a pedestrian-controlled traffic signal.
Right.
and
That will stop the
with
traffic.
a crosswalk.
Yep.
And we just have to make sure that all the curb ramps tying into that crosswalk are ADA accessible. So it's a matter of finding a proper location and safe location for the crosswalk and traffic signal.
Okay, so you recommend that do I have to put a motion in tonight, or during the, I can order it tonight?
I would recommend that, Counselor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Mr. Chairman, Frank, excuse me. Frank,
Oh, Frank, go ahead.
what would the cost of something like that be, roughly?
Oh, I'd hate to throw a number out there, but I'd say something in the order of $15,000 to $20,000.
That's short money when you consider, what could happen to someone if they got hit by a car or something, like that up there. Okay.
Yeah.
And I intend to support the ward councilor on this. I think it's an excellent motion, and hopefully we'll get something done up there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely needed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What'd you say?
I said thank you.
Okay, I didn't hear the figure. Did you come up with a figure?
Anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000. It's just a ballpark at this point. We'd have to do a final cost construction budget because curb ramps have to be put in and modifications to the sidewalks on both sides and conduit power for the signal. So we would take once it goes to the traffic commission, we'd send it to the city engineer. We'd put a package together and subject to the availability of funds, get it out to bid and installed.
All right, sounds good. Okay, thank you, Frank. Any other questions from the councilors? I'm sorry, we have Councilor Ivan Novorowski for Councilor Guanasso, Councilor Vice President Keefe, and Councilor Powers here.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I
Councilor.
certainly agree with what you're saying, and I certainly, there's a cost involved with this, but the cost should be no factor in terms of public safety. So I just think that your wishes should be honored, and it should be approved, and we see how fast we can get this installed.
Thank you, Councilor. Yes, and I hopefully we'll get with the Overlook to take care of that. Thank you. Anybody else?
Sure.
Go to the second item.
Second item on the Public Safety Subcommittee agenda is 17-180, motion presented by Councilor Patch, that the mayor be requested to write to the state delegation requesting an update on the Route 1 Highway Improvement Project to increase the number of travel lanes from 2 to 3. Traffic at this bottleneck is horrendous and worsens with each passing year.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I just want the people to be aware that we did reach out to Malden, and who's having the same problem with the traffic on Route 1 that Revere is. They did write a letter to me from the city planner. If Madam Clerk would like to read that letter.
Dear Councilor Patch, I'm in receipt of the notice of your committee meeting scheduled for July 24th, 2017, at which time you intend to discuss the installation of a pedestrian signal on Salem
this is-
Street at Overlook Ridge and the proposed Route 1 Highway Improvement Project. Thank you for keeping us informed. At my request, City Clerk Melnick provided me with additional information about the motions. This correspondence serves to provide you and the committee with information relevant to those items to be discussed, and specifically the status of the City of Malden's review of the traffic and safety impacts of the Overlook Ridge project and mitigation. As you may know, there is a petition currently under review by the Malden Rose Quarry Site Plan Review Committee regarding the Overlook Ridge project in Malden. The petition was filed on November 10th, 2016 by Roseland Property Company for Overlook Ridge LLC for site plan approval to construct 3 multifamily dwellings containing 5 stories and a total of 326 dwelling units at the property known as Lot 12 and formerly part of by City of Malden Assessors Parcel ID number 185-575-506, located off Overlook Ridge Drive, Malden, Mass. The RQS PRC held its first public project review meeting regarding this petition on November 29th, 2016, and subsequent meetings on January 18th, 2017, January 31st, 2017, and February 28th, 2017. The RQ-SPRC tabled its review and decision to allow the city the opportunity to research and evaluate the traffic and safety impacts of the project and whether these impacts will be adequately minimized and mitigated by the petitioner. As you are aware, the Overlook Ridge project is subject to Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act review, governed by a special review procedure certificate issued on August 16, 1999, final environmental impact report certificate issued on November 15, 2002, and notice of project change certificates issued on July 1, 2005, and February 6, 2009. Petitioner filed the most recent notice of change, project change, in 2008, and includes Phase 3 of the development, which encompasses the units that are the subject of the pending petition and full build-out of the project. This NPC includes an initial traffic study based on data nearly a decade out of date and assumptions incorporated into the study regarding Route 1 highway improvement project that have not been realized. Specifically, the RQ-SPRC is concerned that 1, significant modifications to the development or impacts require notices of project change under MEPA. 2, full build-out of the project will cause significant detrimental traffic impacts. 3, petitioner's traffic studies and development plans assumed improvements to Route 1 and the roadway network would be relied upon to mitigate traffic impacts of full build-out. 4, full build-out of the project without off-site mitigation constitutes a significant modification to project impacts. The city may request the petitioner to file a notice of project change with MEPA. In the interim, the RQ-SPRC has requested that the petitioner address the following items. 1, prepare and submit a report describing the evolution of the Section 61 findings commitments the petitioner made to Mass DOT over the course of the project. The report should detail all commitments, including ones that were subsequently replaced in favor of substitute commitments. The report should provide a status update detailing the proponent's progress toward meeting those commitments. The report should include documentation of completion of any commitments that have been met. 2, prepare and submit a comprehensive traffic study analyzing the impact of the remainder of the proposed full-scale build-out to be peer-reviewed by the City of Malden at the petitioner's expense. This study should A, update the traffic impact analysis prepared for the 2008 Notice of Project Change using today's baseline conditions. B, present future build-out scenarios without assuming that any off-site mitigation not yet completed will be part of the future build scenarios. C, assess and propose achievable mitigation measures to address the traffic and safety impacts of the project at the local intersections identified in Mass Highways Section 61 findings dated February 20th, 2003, including Salem Street / Site Drive, Salem Street / Liberty Ave / Stone Street, Salem Street / Kennedy Drive, Lynn Street / Wesley Street, and Beach Street / Lynn Street, and any other intersections that the study indicates will detrimentally be impacted by the full build-out. 3, provide the City of Malden with copies of all annual traffic monitoring studies completed to date, completion of which was required by Mass Highways Section 61 findings dated February 20th, 2003. To date, petitioner has provided the RQ SPRC with documentation that responds to items 1 and 3 at your request. I will forward this information to you. Regarding item 2, petitioner expects to submit a traffic study this month, which the city will peer review. This study includes the intersection of Salem Street at Overlook Ridge, which your committee is discussing. The city's peer reviewer is Kenneth Petraglia, professional engineer, professional traffic operations engineer of Beta Group, Inc., Norwood, Mass. Mr. Petraglia would like to meet with your staff or traffic engineer consultant who may be reviewing this intersection. Please advise who we should contact to arrange this meeting. Finally, please advise me of any actions your committee may take concerning these or related matters so that I may inform the RQ SPRC. The date of our next meeting has yet to be determined. Thank you for your consideration of this information. Please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions. Thank you, Michelle Romero, City Planner, Malden.
Thank you for reading that, Madam Clerk. Next, before the councilors speak, I'll have Paul Rupp, who represents Revere with Overlook. I believe he also represents Malden. Come forward, Paul, please. Name and address.
Oh, yeah, Paul Rupp, Swampscott.
Go ahead, the show is yours. Go
Okay,
ahead.
what do you want to hear about Route 1, essentially?
Yes.
Yeah, not that there's much to tell. Revere, Malden, and Saugus in the past few years has sort of joined forces, and both mayors and the town manager are very intent on trying to move the Route 1 project forward. It's like pushing a boulder up a hill. There are so many backlogged projects in Massachusetts not done that this one is a huge number. It's estimated to be $160 million. What the cities and the town of Saugus have tried to do is to approach it and peel off some so-called early action items that could be done and maybe begin to alleviate the traffic problem and in time build the whole Route 1 improvement project. The problem with that is that it requires like almost a full-time staff person to pursue that effort. The transportation improvement plan process in Massachusetts is onerous and deadly, and those that are organized get in there and get the projects. That's Boston, it's the bigger cities, and it's regional planning agencies, and it's also rapid transit, and everything else comes out of the same pie of funds. So what Revere and Saugus have done, Malden did not want to join in this effort, is that we applied to the Mass Gaming Commission for funding to hire a sub-regional transportation planner, and that's been approved. That grant was approved, and the cities are now in the process of working out the details. But one of the first charges to that person would be to focus on this Route 1 project. How do we make it move forward? How do we get higher up in the line and the chain, the pecking order and the chain of command, and to get this done? So that's all I have to say. There's not a whole lot. I'm not, it's been very frustrating for decades trying to push that project forward. There is land that Roseland has set aside to enable the widening of Route 1 as it goes around the bend at their project, but that's only land. There are other issues. The probably the most likely piece that could get done first would be up by the intersection of Route 99 and Route 1, the most difficult section is the bridges over the Town Line Brook, because they have a lot of environmental issues there. But I think that the strategy to peel away some elements that can be done that begin to address the problem and then sequentially pursue the rest is the way to go. So hopefully this transportation planner working for Revere and Saugus can really bore in on that and get us to higher up in the pecking order.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Any questions for Mr. Rupp? Uh-oh.
Why'd you say that, Paul? The only thing that I can say as a citizen of Revere and a person who traverses Route 1, we need help.
Yeah.
We need help with that site, and we've talked years back on-site with Overlook, and in those days, Joe Shea was the representative of Overlook. And there was always some hope, a glimmer of hope, that there was something going to be done to widening that strip and to give some relief, because it's an absolute nightmare to try to go up Route 1. It used to be just Friday nights and
Yeah.
designated for Friday nights. Now
It's
it's
every day,
every night.
every day.
And it starts, it used to be 4 o'clock. It starts now at 1 o'clock,
Yep.
12 o'clock.
Yep.
And it's every day.
Absolutely.
Because they're building so much north of us.
Yeah.
We're a regional city again, and our folks are blaming us for all this development. But all this traffic, primarily, all over the city is
Right.
regional.
Right.
We're a connector for all the cities and towns around us, and we're being faulted for it. We have to grow our
Yeah.
community. We have to make sure that our tax base is stabilized. But people are outraged over development based on a falsehood that it's all pertaining to Revere traffic, when it's
Right.
not.
No, it's not.
It's all regional traffic.
One of the things that we hope to have this transportation planner focus on is to enlist support from other communities north, because we often state in our communications to the state that we think maybe 20% of the state's population is affected by that constriction twice a day.
Absolutely.
So that's probably what this person is going to need to do, is to get out and enlist support from the legislators up and down the Route 1 corridor.
They haven't shown enough interest in the past, which I
No.
think is so unfair.
Right.
To their constituents, because their constituents are being delayed for so long.
Right.
Just 2 lanes going in there is absolutely ludicrous.
It is.
It's a major highway as big as the Mass Pike.
Yep.
And it has as much traffic as the Southeast Expressway, but yet it's not given the funding to do accordingly, to stretch it out.
Couldn't agree more.
We agree on something. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else? Ira?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Boy, am I glad you brought this out. It's, I've been thinking about it, because I remember that when we were in here talking with Joe Shea, like
Yep.
it was mentioned, and that was in 2008, 2009, and they said, oh, this thing's going to be finished by 2014. Well, here we are in 2017, and not a bit has been done. Matter of fact, I get a little upset when I see them repairing the bridges that cross over some of the sub-roads,
Right.
and that they're spending all that money knowing that we want something expanded rather than just repaired. But it came to my attention, I don't know, about 9 months ago, talking to someone from DOT, saying, what's going on with this? And he says, the state has just about abandoned it,
Yeah.
because basically of a couple of the businesses up in the town line area on Route 1. That there was one particular vendor, owner, that was giving him a real hard
I think I
time.
know what you're talking about.
And he said, and the guy has some clout, and he's puts pressure on his legislative people and put a little kibosh on it. So, I was a little upset to hear that, but
Yeah.
I'm glad we can bring this out now. But I am still upset at the Roseland people, because I remember the day that Joe Shea was in here and he promised us a hotel next to the fire station. And that was almost 10 years
Yeah.
ago. So I'm not too happy with Roseland right now anyway. It's just something that sticks in me.
It'll be interesting to see what the traffic report that Malden gets and what the peer review is of that. And they should be invited to the Traffic Commission meeting. So, to at least hear the concerns, because there are other across the line in Linden, Malden people are feeling very impacted, and so it's not just this pedestrian signal, it's, there's a lot of traffic going into that development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say my little piece there. Thank you. Opportunity is always there.
Anybody else?
Any other councilors? problem that I have is that is my ward, Ward 6.
Yep.
You know, we get calls, let's put a on-ramp north on Sergeant Street, you know, where they come off. I said, that's not gonna solve the problem. I said, that's what's causing the problem. All the people are cutting, taking that exit.
Right.
And they either they get to the bottom, they go right to cut through Malden, or they go left and another quick left, and they go up Asti Ave, and they go up Malden Street onto Washington Ave. And that's when you get the buildup on
Yep.
Washington Ave and Linden Square, and it's just, you know, it's frustrating. Like I've been a counselor, I've been the ward council for 10 years.
Yep.
And I think I've been trying for 10 years. And when I hear things, you know, like years ago, when it first, I believe it was after Overlook probably did their first traffic study and everything, you know, they had to pay for that, right? They had to pay a couple of $1 million to do a traffic study, which is outdated now. It's, but the state put up $25 million, I heard,
Yep.
to do the job, and then that money disappeared. It went to some other job.
Exactly.
You know, so now you're talking what, 160,000?
150.
150?
Yeah. That's just to get somebody to focus on it, to really pay, you know, bore in on it and pay attention to that and work the system. It takes a tremendous amount of working the system to get a project funded in Massachusetts.
I believe so. It's really not fair. And and you brought up the good point that other people up that use that from the Tobin Bridge that live up north of us, they should really speak to their delegations, state and federal,
Yep.
to get the money, because I don't know, maybe they enjoy sitting in that traffic every day. I don't know, but I know the people around Ward 6 don't like driving around Washington Ave and Linden Square, and it's just, and then when you see they're doing it, they've been working, the state's been, like the council said, they're repairing the bridges.
Yeah.
But they're not, there was a perfect time for them to extend the bridges. They could have made them large, you know, put another lane in there, you know, but it's still 2 lanes, you know? So it's frustrating, and it's frustrating for the people in my ward. So I'm glad, you know, to hear that the mayor and the mayor, what is the mayor of Malden and the town planner?
No, the mayor Revere and the town manager Saugus kind of joined forces.
See, that's what I'm really surprised that Malden wouldn't get involved in that, and also towns like Peabody and
I don't want to say Malden hasn't been involved. Malden has been involved. We've been sending communications for the past 3 years. What they didn't do is they didn't join this grant application, which doesn't really matter, to be honest, because they had other projects that they were seeking funding for from the Mass Gaming Commission. So.
Okay, so that, so we'll be hearing, you'll be keeping me informed on the progress of this grant?
Yep. Absolutely. And again, I think, you know, you should invite the Malden people to the Traffic Commission meeting and their traffic reviewer.
We could, yeah, like I said, I met with the people from Overlook,
Yep.
and they said that their traffic study's almost done.
Yep. So then it will go to Malden for peer review, and then that peer reviewer should be invited to the Traffic Commission.
If you could, when you go to the Malden one, would you let me know when it is so I can go also?
But no, I mean, when you set up a Traffic Commission meeting here, you should invite the Malden people, including their traffic peer reviewer, to be at that meeting.
Do you suggest that we wait till after the Overlook finishes their study?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Paul. Thanks for all your hard work.
Sure, thank you.
I guess that concludes the public safety meeting. Thank you. Goodbye.